we're all different for a reason.
Yeah.
We all have different gifts and talents and, personalities and interests for a reason. So let's celebrate that. And I'll work on what I can work on. You work on what you work on, and we'll support each other in that. Even if it's different, it's, if it's for the greater good and it's positive, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome to the Let's Give a Damn podcast. I'm your host, Nick Lapara, and on this podcast, we find people who saw something wrong in the world and gave a damn about it, and we chat with them. And then we let you listen in on those conversations. It's a win-win for everybody. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to reintroduce you to some friends of mine that are sponsoring this episode. Do not fast forward it. This is very important. You're really, honestly, truly going to want to listen to this. My friends at Goodwell are doing incredible work. I'm serious. They create environmentally conscious products that empower people to make a sustainable choice in their daily oral care routines. If bamboo toothbrushes are your thing, they have those. They also have a metal toothbrush handle, and you buy reusable toothbrush heads that are 100% biodegradable. They have toothpaste, they have floss, and they have this amazing product called the Bee Brush, the first non-electric powered toothbrush in the world. Yes, you heard that correctly. They've created a patented technology that'll blow your mind, and everything I just mentioned can be purchased as a one-time product or as a subscription, so you don't have to think about it at all. It just shows up at your doorstep when you need it. And everything they make and sell is biodegradable, compostable, and or recyclable. So it's amazing for the earth, and you're getting amazing oral care. Needless to say, we love them and use them in our home. And I have some exciting news. If you use the code DAMN in all caps, D-A-M-N in all caps at checkout, you'll get 30% off your order. That's a huge discount, and you can feel really good about buying and using their products. So do us a favor and go check them out. They make it possible for us to continue making this podcast and providing it to you for free. So go visit them at goodwell.co, goodwell.co, and use the code DAMN, DAM, for 30% off today. And now, allow me to introduce you to today's guest. This week, I got to sit down with Daina Storey in downtown Nashville in a conference room right down the hall from where I met Daina for the first time almost 2 years ago. I had a blast chatting with her. She is the director of the Nashville Social Enterprise Alliance. She is the co-founder of the Kumi Project, and she is the co-founder of Fisher Story Consultants. Yes, she is a very busy woman. She's incredible, and I can't wait for you to hear more about her life and work. So let's get right into it. Here's my conversation with the amazing damn giver, Daina Storey. Let's go. Daina Storey, welcome to the Let's Give a Damn podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today.
Excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. We were just talking before the recording went on. We met almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Totally unrelated matter. Mm-hmm. You were just starting your role, one of the roles that we're going to talk about today. You were just starting your role as director of Nashville Social Enterprise Alliance.
Yep, you got it. It's a long.
Yeah, you were sitting in on a meeting that I was having with your colleague at the time, the person you were taking over for, about some crazy idea that I had. Thankfully, I have lots of people that listen to my crazy ideas. And then here we are a year and a half later. So much has happened in your life and career, and I'm excited to talk about it. So again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm excited to dig in. Before we get going on career stuff and kind of why you give a damn, tell me a little bit about who you are, because beyond what you do in the city of Nashville and some of your career stuff that I can see publicly, I don't know anything about you. So fill me in. Go back as far as you want to. Go back all the way to childhood or however you want to. But usually when people share their story, I can pick out like, oh, that might be why she is the way that she is, or that might be why she thinks the way. There's always some sort of clue. I can do that a million times in my past. So I'm always looking for those little nuggets. But either way, I want to know more about you. So who are you and where did you come from?
Oh my gosh.
Why are you the way that you are?
I have no idea. I don't know. I know, but I don't know. I'm originally from Southern California, Orange County. I was raised by my father, and he was in the education system for 30 years. Growing up in Orange County, it's always very multicultural. I think people have this big misperception that it's blonde hair, blue-eyed kids running around everywhere.
Sure.
And it's not. There is a huge Latino community, a huge Asian community, a huge Middle Eastern community. So it was, for me, it was just always, it was, all of my best friends were from different cultures. And so I learned through their families about all these different cultures and experiences and food and, religion, just things that, made them who they were. And I just always thought that was so enriching and exciting to experience. And my stepfather was actually, we always watched like Nat Geo together. And so it always made me very curious about other cultures and how people live and traveling. And so I think from a very young age, I was always very interested in just experiencing new things. And grew up going to a mega church at Saddleback. You may have heard of it.
Yeah. Yes.
I grew up Catholic, and then I started going to Saddleback. And I do, for all whatever your, I guess, feelings are about a mega church, I wouldn't go to one now, but at the time it was a very
right place to be.
It was a very important place for me to be. And I think that helped also kind of shape how you look at people and treat people and the kind of the lens that can offer. And so for me, it was very formative. And then at 20, I decided that I needed to get out of California and wanted to try something different.
So funny story about Saddleback.
Okay. I'm sure there's lots of them.
I know it's not even funny, just a great story actually about Saddleback. Okay. I too I'm a Christian, but that whole segment of Christianity is not for me. I'm way more on the Anglican Catholic side of things.
Yeah.
But back in the day, some of the groups I ran in did some stuff with Saddleback.
Okay.
So I was in Southern California all the time. And we hosted an event at that church. And at our event, Rick showed up.
Really?
And he greeted people that were coming in. So at our event,
wow.
This is not a Saddleback event. We were basically using/renting the space for this big conference we were doing.
Was this at the new space, the big?
This is 2010 or 11.
Okay, so they had their whole facility probably.
I think so.
Okay, so
I think so. I don't know, but so we're hosting it there, and that always left a huge. Again, I have no desire to ever be part of that.
Sure.
Again, for a lot of reasons, that's a whole different conversation.
That's
but
another podcast.
I've always admired. Like, I liked him before that.
Yeah.
I liked him way more after that.
Yeah.
Because, like, he didn't have, he's Rick Warren. Like, he's one of the most famous people, some would say, in the world. Like, he's a household name in so many circles.
Absolutely.
People know Purpose Driven Life, it's still a bestseller, blah, blah, blah. And he was at our event greeting people at the door, hugs, like just hugging people.
That's great.
And I was like, what are you doing? I didn't say this to him, but I'm like, what are you doing? You don't have to be here.
Yeah.
Like, go chill. I'm sure you need to chill. But he showed up to our thing, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
So, again, for all the feelings we may or may not have about mega churches, like, that dude's the real deal.
Yeah.
And I always liked that.
I actually grew up with his son. Funny story, his son and I dated in, high school or something like that.
You were almost a Warren.
No. I don't think I would have made the cut. Yeah. I wouldn't have made the cut. But I grew up with the family, and they were fantastic. At least from my experience, everybody has their own personal experiences, but at least for me. And I think that's why it was so important in shaping a lot of the ways that I viewed people and treated people and wanted to interact. And just always, for me, I don't know, I've always felt like people are so interesting and you want to get to know them, and their backgrounds, like you've said, have so much to do with who they are and how they got there and stuff. So Saddleback was just, very cool in that aspect. So I left when I was 20, and I actually have not really been back since. So actually I take that back.
To Saddleback or to SoCal?
To Saddleback.
Okay.
Yeah. I do kind of take that back, though, because they have international missions. And I actually lived in Kenya for a year with one of their missions programs. Okay. But it wasn't, it was through them, but not for them. Yeah. Just had always these incredible.
It's part of your story, part of your history. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And, I actually now go, lean more towards the Catholic stuff, but I have my own opinion. I have my own issues with what's happening right now. But
Yes.
yeah.
So you left when you were 20. Where'd you go? Here?
Here.
Okay.
I just decided to come to Nashville, and
Why Nashville of all the places?
I thought I wanted to work in music.
Okay.
Not as a performer or singer or anything like that.
Come on, you probably got a performer in you somewhere.
Well, when I was younger, and then I decided I didn't like attention.
Oh, okay.
And so that like singing, I sang, I played the cello and all these other things, and I just realized that you have to be in front of people.
Yep,
and I
that
didn't
is a requirement.
Did not like that.
Okay.
So I just decided, you know what, it's not for me. Other people want that, and they're better at it. So I was interested in the music business side, and then changed that right after I got here.
Why? Because everyone was trying to do it?
I think so. And I decided it's not what I wanted my degree to be in. And I had found broadcast communications. And so I got my degree in that, and I loved it. So TV, radio, PR, all that stuff.
Have you done much in that space?
Yeah,
Has that been part of your career?
Yeah, I actually work part-time for Lightning 100.
Oh, right now?
Right now.
Oh,
and
okay.
I have off and on since about 2006, I think. Yeah. So I love radio. I think it's great.
I do too. Like I really, really do. I know we're on a podcast, so you kind of have to say that. But I love that in today, 2019, we have electric cars. Elon Musk is boring tunnels under cities so we can go at 130 miles an hour. Like we're moving people to the moon soon. Like there's all these things, not moving people to the moon, but like there's so many things trying to.
Yeah, gonna get there.
There's so many things going on, right?
Yeah.
AR, AI, VR, like all these amazing things. And yet radio, whether in radio form or podcasting, is still alive and well.
Yep.
It's a thriving.
Yes.
I mean, there's a podcast company, Luminary, just got like $100 million in funding.
Wow.
Gimlet Media a few months ago sold for $200+ million. Just a podcasting company. Like, so I love this.
I don't know why I gravitated towards radio more so than TV, but I just always loved it. So
I think you have to really become a solid communicator.
Yes.
Because it's all you have. You don't have your looks. You don't have your antics. You don't have hand motions. You don't have anything.
Right.
You have your voice. That's it.
Yep.
And you need to convince people to not change the channel or go to the next podcast.
Yep. And that, like with Lightning, I'm on by myself. So, I'm talking to myself and I'm like, God, I hope it's as interesting enough that people want to stick around. My favorite, though, is doing the morning show because you interact. But yeah, radio is, usually you got to just figure out how to communicate so that people want to engage with you.
So you said you were that was my bad, everybody. I shut off my phone, forgot to turn on my computer. So that was an email coming in. No big deal. So let's talk about, you said you were in Uganda, right?
Yes. So 2006, I went to Kenya and Uganda for the first time. And that was about 3 weeks. And while I was there, it was through an organization called Mocha Club. And they do all kinds of community development programs. And that was my first time ever in Africa.
You're friends with Barrett Ward then?
Yes.
Barrett was on my podcast last year. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Barrett is one of my all-time favorite people. He's the guy who took me to Africa for the first time. We still talk today. I love him.
He's amazing.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I adore him. But he is who took me to Africa for the first time. And it was incredible. And like I remember the moment I stepped off the plane, I felt, and this is going to sound weird, maybe stupid, but I felt completely comfortable and I felt at home. Like I felt completely comfortable.
Let's talk about that for a second. Have you done much global travel?
As of today, yes.
Yes.
But back
then, no. So what do you attribute that to? Because I feel the same way.
Really?
I grew up out of the country. So I grew up in Guatemala.
Okay.
And I've been to over 30 countries. So that's why I attribute, when I leave the country, I take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable.
Yes.
A couple years ago, I was in Indonesia, in Jakarta, and we weren't supposed to leave. We were supposed to leave the hotel as a group. I left the hotel as soon as everybody went up to their rooms, and I started walking around. And I feel so incredibly comfortable when I leave this country.
Yeah.
I just do. It's not home, and sometimes I get accused a lot of not being a good enough patriot because I was born here, but was not raised here. Anyway, I feel that way when I leave. But why do you think you felt completely comfortable and at home?
I really don't know because I'd been to Mexico and not for like it was mission trips and other experiences, and then I lived in London for a semester abroad and had traveled around Western Europe. I really couldn't tell you what it was,
but you did.
I just remember we were walking off the plane and I just felt like I'm home, and I don't know why. And I haven't been there. It'll be a year. I went to Uganda last summer.
Okay.
And kind of still get the same feeling.
So you're one of the co-founders of the Kumi Project.
Mm-hmm.
Is that tied to something that happened to you in 2006 after you left, or is that a completely separate venture? And tell us about the Kumi Project.
Sure. It came pretty far after.
Okay.
But that first trip to Africa with Barrett kind of
planted the seeds.
Yeah. Kind of just, I was like, I came back from that trip and I was like, I have to go back. And then a friend of mine from Saddleback, she was in California and I was here. She called and was like, I'm moving to Kenya and I'm going to live on Saddleback, had a compound. And she's like, I'm going to live there for 9 months if you want to come and join me. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I had told Barrett that I was going to do that. And Barrett, I think, was actually living in Ethiopia at that time.
Right.
And with his wife, Rachel. And so I had mentioned it to him and he's like, oh, great, you can lead Mocha Club trips. So I actually lived in Ethiopia for about 6 weeks prior to moving to Kenya. That was the summer of 2008. So was in Ethiopia leading some teams for Mocha Club and then flew down to Kenya and lived there for about 9 months. And then came back here and then went back again for a few months. Just couldn't stay away, I guess.
Yeah.
But we did all kinds of stuff. I mean, we worked in medical clinics. We worked in schools. Pretty much everything, anything that we were willing to do, they asked, they wanted our help, or they would involve us in what they were doing. I don't want to say, I hate to use the word like we were helping them, but like they wanted us to be a part of what they were doing. So they would always include us. And it was amazing. So then fast forward a few years, I came back, had a really hard time adjusting, living back in the States.
Yes. I felt that many times in my life.
Yeah. Don't think I ever fully processed it. Tried to work in music for a few years, did a lot of different stuff, and then just couldn't do it anymore and had the opportunity to work at a different nonprofit that was based in Nashville that worked in Uganda. And so through that, I met a guy named Pastor Fred, who is Ugandan, and through him, we kind of developed the Kumi Project. So it all kind of came later on.
And what is the Kumi Project?
So the Kumi Project is a nonprofit that 5 friends and I had started. I took them all on a team trip over there to visit this previous nonprofit's work. We had all gone together, and then about a year after we got back from that trip, we all kind of felt like we wanted to do something together. And there were all these programs for women, but we hadn't seen any programs for young men. And so a lot of the young men, teenage boys, college-age boys, and younger even, were just hanging out in the streets, getting into trouble. And it was affecting the relationship because there's all these women's programs and programs for girls, but there's nothing to develop the boys. And so there was resentment between the two. And we personally just felt that if you're going to instill all these programs for women, you gotta build into the men as well, because that's just unequal. And so basically, in a nutshell, the Kumi Project focuses on educational leadership and mentoring for young men. And so we promise to put them through school and university and then help them try to find jobs afterwards. And part of that is them also working within the community and giving back to the community.
What does your team look like? Is it just you, or is it a bunch of people, or how does it work since you're most of the time living here? Yeah.
Well, it's 5 white girls. So that right there I know is, whatever, but we really let our Ugandan team do most everything. We focus on raising the funds here and educating people about what we do. My husband is also kind of a silent co-founder. He was just as involved and passionate about it as we were. So it was 5 girls and my husband. But So our job, we primarily try to raise awareness and funding. And then we have 2 staff members in Uganda, a program manager, and then a house dad who basically lives with the boys. And then we've got kind of a board that oversees and works with them that is Pastor Fred is a part of and kind of mentors the leadership and then the young men as well. So we went last year. There's two of our girls are going to go again this summer. So we try to go once a year, at least 1 or 2 team members try to go once a year, if not more, to interact and hang out with them and spend time.
Couple things. One is, I'm sure somebody's going to pick apart what I'm going to say right now, but it's all opinion anyway. But my opinion is that I think it's unique that 5 white girls started something to enrich the lives of young men, young boys. I think that's cool because I would say, by and large, the experience that I've had is that, if women are starting it, it has more of which is, I'm not saying it's bad, it has more of a feminine feel to it, and it's more for girls, right? Women work with girls, right?
Sure.
And men work with boys. And for you all to do something a little bold and a little strange, I think and I don't even know if there was a why behind that, or if it's just because you guys saw the need. Like, yes, like if I look at the landscape of who is helping who in Uganda specifically, since you all are there, I'd say most of the effort is probably going toward little kids, girls, and women.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's where it is in most of aid work and most of nonprofit work.
Yes.
Let's take care of little kids, which again, all that's fine and dandy.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think that was where and we all individually felt this and then started talking about it to each other. So it was something that it's not like I went to them and said, "Hey, what do you think about, I've been thinking about that." Like everybody it kind of came up in conversation that all of us noticed this when we were there together, and we all wanted to do something specifically for the boys in this community. And I mean, and it's a small nonprofit, but our promise is, we're not going to take on more than we can handle. The need is huge, but we want to make sure that we're not just throwing a bunch of money and then these guys don't make it through and don't make it onto careers. Like if we can only help, or not help, but if we can only work with these 10 boys and they're successful, then that
means the world.
That's better than trying to help 1,000 and maybe 2 actually make it. So it is very small, but I think that's kind of intentional for now. We would like to get bigger, but at the moment, I think we're happy with where it's at.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So before you worked with the Nashville Social Enterprise Alliance, you worked on the national team. There's a larger umbrella organization called the Social Enterprise Alliance, right?
Yes.
And they kind of oversee all of the kind of city chapters. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So tell me about your role there and then how you transitioned to Nashville, essentially a couple years ago.
So Social Enterprise Alliance is a national organization. They've got, I think, 17 or 18 chapters all over the country. And the national organization is just kind of, they come up with programs and offerings for the chapters to be able to try to, utilize within their communities. But the chapters are very grassroots driven. And so there's not really a formula for each chapter has to follow, which I think gives a lot of freedom, but then it can also, a chapter's really got to want to get up and going to be able to do this. But it does allow the chapters to represent their city and decide what's best for their city. So at the National SEA, I came in as a community engagement coordinator. So just working with members and also helped, because of my background in music, had worked on touring and management and things like that. And so we put on a national convening every other year called Summit. And so I worked on putting that together, we did a festival with social, entrepreneurs and food trucks and all this stuff in downtown LA. It was in September of 2017. And then my role was constantly transitioning.
Yes.
And so then I moved into a role where I was working with the chapter leaders and helping support them and what they were doing. And then at some point, Hannah, my colleague, she was the director of Nashville Social Enterprise Alliance, and she was going to transition on to national This is also confusing.
I'm tracking.
Okay. So she was going to move on to that.
Similar role or a different role on the national team?
Kind of similar, but it was B for national, and so it was kind of that oversight of running programs and growing membership and things like that. And so my job was split half running or managing the chapters and the other half running Nashville. And so did that for a little while, and they chose me for that because I'd been here so long. I moved here in 2002, and so they felt that I was.
Yeah, Nashville.
They thought so. I mean,
do you?
I feel like I do, but I also know that there's a lot I don't know.
Sure.
So.
So with the Nashville chapter, what did you offer? So several of the NSEA alum have been on my podcast.
Nice.
Leaf and. Now I'm blanking on all the names.
Have you talked to Trap Garden?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
good.
So he
and
Rob
Fathom.
Veggies has been on there.
Okay.
And
have you talked to Joe Adele?
Knowledge Bank.
Courtney. Yep.
Courtney's been on there. And no, the one you just mentioned, I have
you
not.
Talk to them. They're great.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. So amazing people, right?
Right.
Like
yes.
just wonderful, wonderful people. But how did you support them? I mean, Nashville's really like kicking ass when it comes to social enterprise work, I think, for the size of the city, and for kind of where the city has come from, and I think fantastic things are coming out of this city.
Yeah.
But what did you offer them?
I mean,
as a chapter,
the chapter's been around maybe 9 years or so. Started by Don Layer and a couple other people, and a lot at the beginning it was education and teaching people about social enterprise, and there's still an element to that, but now it feels like our biggest value is utilizing the network to connect the entrepreneurs to the resources that they need, whether that's funding opportunities or business idea validation or mentorship. So we really try to understand what the social entrepreneur needs and what they're wanting to do with their business and the impact that they want to have. And based upon that, try to help them connect to those resources and be an advocate for them. And then also we have a decent sized network for our newsletter and things like that. And so the other half of it is the promotion piece. But the great thing, our board is amazing, and they're all kind of in different arenas, but they all are focused on social enterprise in some way. And so our community is so diverse when it comes to the type of businesses they're wanting to start. So it's great because our board, if I don't know, I can say, oh, well, you need to talk to Dawn, or you need to talk to Tori. And we can at least find somebody on our board who can find a resource for them.
Now, you just recently, your role's sort of shifting, right? You are now the same role, but as a volunteer.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
How are you doing with that transition, and what are you doing now to essentially, pay the bills, make a living, while still, kind of living out who you are, right? Because we were talking before the recording went on, that obviously hasn't stopped. So what's that transition looking like?
It's been, and it's kind of been a slow transition, which I think has been helpful.
Sure, it wasn't like 30 days from now.
Yeah. We kind of could forecast and prepare for it. So it's been good. I can't imagine not trying to still be in this ecosystem in some form or fashion. Would I love to get paid for it, for being that, director of the chapter? Absolutely. But I'm not going to stop trying to help in this arena just because I'm not going to get paid for it anymore. I think it's too important. And so many other people are doing the same. They're volunteering their time to help these entrepreneurs. So the money's nice, but at the same time, it's not everything. So actually, another girl and I on the board started a consulting company for social impact and nonprofit development, because our backgrounds we have a lot of experience in that. And so she and I have formed that in the last couple months, which has been great. And then I am in the process of getting my real estate license. So
let's talk about real estate for a minute.
Yeah.
Because when you first said that, you told me that again before the recording went on. Obviously, yay, go for it. But also, everyone's getting their fucking real estate license.
Yep.
So why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Because I think you have a different. Obviously, you want to, again, you need to make money. You need to make a living.
Sure.
But it seems like your why is deeper than just you need to get that commission check.
Yeah.
Right.
And I previously.
Not that that's wrong.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But I previously worked for an agent a couple years ago. I was in this in-between time where I was getting my master's degree and just needed a job. So I worked for an agent and learned so much about real estate. And I think I told you I learned a lot of things that I never wanted to do for real estate. But I did. Yeah. I saw how impactful a good real estate agent could be. And I think that's why I didn't go get my license immediately afterwards, because I was like, everybody's getting it. I don't need to join in this, you
saw the enormity of the quest ahead and what it means. And you were like, not the time. Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be just another person going to get their real estate license. Everybody's doing that.
I mean, literally. Not a week goes by where I don't see a Facebook or an Instagram. Hey, I'm started a new venture.
Exactly.
And again, I have some really great friends that are wonderful real estate agents, but it seems very crowded. So why are you doing it again?
So
why are you pursuing it?
I've always, since I learned a lot, I actually always would kind of come back to it in a way. I was always very interested in it. And I saw how, like I mentioned, impactful a good real estate agent could be. And there's recently, within the last year or two, there's been this thing called opportunity zones. It's a federal initiative where wealthy people can take their capital gains tax and put it in investment into opportunity zones, whether that's through business or real estate or whatever. And I'd been to a couple meetings about opportunity zones, and all I saw there were big-time developers and real estate agents, and nothing wrong with that. But I did realize there's no parameters to keep gentrification from happening. And so the first line is going to be these real estate agents and these developers who have to care about the community and how it develops and how it progresses. And it has to care about not kicking people out or, helping move people out of their homes if they don't want to. So opportunity zones, in essence, are meant to be a good thing, but I saw a lot of red flags, which concerned me. And I was like, well, one of the best ways to do that is to actually put this knowledge, be there and be someone that is, helping to be on the front lines and, hopefully help with positive development as opposed to just complete gentrification and pushing people out. So that was my motivation. Was I feel like I had gained all this knowledge and experience, and I was like, I just feel like I'm going to sit. And I live in 12 South, and I bought there 13 years ago when it was not 12 South, and it was not the neighborhood to live in. And I saw firsthand the gentrification that happened, and I saw the people coming in and preying on my neighbors to get them to move out. And I'm like, I don't know, I want to see that happen again, and if I can do that by being a real estate agent and help with that, then I will.
Do you think it's too late for Nashville? Are there any neighborhoods are there any like real solid good neighborhoods that haven't been affected by, and again, we were talking earlier about how gentrification is not one answer, right? Because we believe in progress. We believe in, helping our cities become all that they can be. But so much of that, we talk about this on the podcast all the time, so much of that comes at the expense of people of color, usually, right? So people of color, marginalized communities, single moms, immigrants, refugees, right? And like you said, the correct word is prey. Like these typically white, powerful real estate dudes come in and they prey on these people that are vulnerable. They talk money, they talk ideas, they talk dreams, they talk all these things. And then all of a sudden this person gets swindled out of their only anchor to this community. They don't realize that when they lose that anchor, they have nowhere to go.
Exactly.
Because they don't understand what it means to move out of here where you at least have something.
Yeah.
Now what do? You can't buy anywhere close to the city anymore, so you're going to lose your job.
Family was there.
What if your bus route doesn't go there anymore? You don't have a vehicle, family, all of that. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking in desperate terms. They're thinking because of the pressures of life. You're thinking, oh, I need what he's offering me.
Well, and most of them bought their property for probably $50,000, $60,000, and now these agents, people are coming in, developers are coming in and offering them $200,000, $250,000. Well,
it's more money than they've ever thought they'd see in their lives.
Exactly. But that property is actually worth $400,000. So they're getting undercut, but they don't know that.
No.
And And that's so unfair. It's so dishonest. And then I even saw people going to neighbors' homes and telling them they weren't wanted in the neighborhood anymore.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. Yeah, just making up stories, making up narratives.
Yep.
And then convincing them of
that they're not wanted anymore.
They don't want you here anymore. Yeah, which is so fucked up. It's so sad.
Pissed me off to no end, and I thought was such bullshit. Like I saw it up and down my street, and like my neighbor Miss Mary, she has been in the neighborhood for 35 years. Before that, her parents were in the neighborhood. She's a 74-year-old Black woman, and she like is tough as nails, and she would watch every single person that came into our neighborhood that was a real estate agent or a developer, and she would kind of harass them and get them out. But I was like, that's exactly what she should have done, because these people were coming onto her property and trying to intimidate her into leaving. And I saw it with so many neighbors, and it's horrible. Nobody should ever have to deal with that.
So you don't think it's too late?
I don't. I think.
You're obviously getting your real estate license, so you think that there's still room to work. There's still work to be done.
There's still areas. Well, and now some of the areas are like Madison and
it's going out. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not. There's still pockets in the urban core, but it is finding its way further and further out. I think that there is still opportunity to help. I mean, you can't change what's already happened, but I think there is a huge opportunity to be able to. These lower income neighborhoods deserve to have development and nice homes and good school. Like, they deserve all of this. So why can we not find a way to make that happen and make it still attractive to people for them to want to come and build these facilities, but allow the people in the neighborhoods to stay and to utilize them? Like, they don't have to be moved out, you know? So, and like, I think one of the coolest examples that I've seen is Slim and Huskies. They're off of Buchanan Street. It's a pizza restaurant.
What's the area of town? Not Germantown, Salemtown. Salemtown, right?
I think it's more like Buena Vista. Okay. I think it's on Salemtown is right by Germantown. And I think on the other side of Rosa Parks. I think it's Buena Vista.
I've heard of this. My friend Will told me about it.
Yes. If you haven't been, you have to go.
I haven't.
It's some of my favorite pizza in town. But they grew up in the neighborhood. They decided, I think it's two guys, they grew up in the neighborhood, decided to start a business there, employ people from the neighborhood, give back. You know, they really have helped improved that corridor where there weren't a lot of businesses. There was not a lot of investment. People were not attracted to that, and they have helped change that. And they're from that neighborhood, and they have they have such a successful business. They just opened in Atlanta now too.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the.
Are they doing the same thing there? Kind of the same model in Atlanta?
It's the same. It's Slim and Huskies, but it's Atlanta. So that, to me, that is the prime example of why we should be investing in these communities and taking this investment from the opportunities and like investing in these opportunity zones for things like this. Like, that is what opportunity zones are meant. To me, that's what they look like, is if someone in the neighborhood wants to start a business and it's viable, help them, give them the investment. I heard the craziest statistic that on average, if a white male wants to start a business, you know, because they always say like, you have to reach out to your network and your friends and family. A white male has $111,000 like equity that they would get,
like family and friends,
friends, like over $100,000 that they on average could get from their network
to start any business
their business. For an African American male, it's like $10,000. That's horrifying.
Yeah,
like that's inequality.
11th of what the
yeah. And so, you know, when they talk, like, I hear these things and they talk about like, oh, well, just go to your network, and I'm like, you don't understand, like, they can't go to their network. So there has to be some other opportunities. Like,
someone to come in and support them, come around them.
Because they have great ideas and they can work, you know? So that's kind of, I think, what I would love to be able to help facilitate is something like that, you know?
I love that. I love that. So we have talked about quite a few things. Your original trip to Uganda, that, you know, affected you deeply. You felt comfortable walking right off the plane. I love hearing that. And then your work with the National Social Enterprise Alliance, then the Nashville Social Enterprise Alliance, the consulting thing that you're doing, the real estate thing. You obviously love people and give a damn, right?
I do.
Why? So talk to me about like what gets you up in the morning. again, you could leave all of this. Probably with your experience at this point, you could make a lot more money doing something else, I would imagine. I think in a city like this, full of opportunity, you could take what you've learned so far and transfer that into something. It's not even about money. Like, sure, I think you could make more money, but you could do something different, more stable, more. You just, you lost your funding for this other thing, and now you're having to like make up the difference, right? So why do you do it? What kind of makes you do that over and over again, day after day?
I don't know. I love like hearing the stories of, I'm not even gonna be able to capture this the way I want to say it, but just human potential and seeing what people are capable of. And, I volunteered at Thistle Farms for a long time.
I love Thistle Farms.
And hearing the stories of what the women had to go through and their experiences. What breaks my heart the most, and maybe this is what it is what breaks my heart the most is that someone would feel that they're not important, that their life doesn't have meaning. That breaks my heart. And there was actually on this first trip to Kenya, sorry, I'm totally like going off on a rabbit hole, but we were sitting in a school in Kenya, and I was talking to, I think he was 10 years old, and we were just having a conversation, and he was like, why did you come here? And I was like, because, I'm interested in whatever. I said, I don't remember, but is that okay? And he's like, yeah, I just would have never thought that somebody that, you would want to be here. And I was like, well, why is that? And he said, because you're from America. So you're number one. You're up here. And I'm from Kenya. So I'm nothing. I'm down here. And that just broke my heart that this kid, 10 years old, that is already his perception.
It's already been fed to him in so many different ways. TV, things people say.
Yeah. And it just, I think for me, I've never understood how you can think you're better than somebody else. Like, we're all human beings. We're all people. And it just breaks my heart to, and I've seen it since then and heard people say it since then. And it just, I think, what motivates me is to let people, like, just to affirm that they are important and that they are capable of doing incredible things. And it doesn't matter where you've been, but you can turn it around. And Project Return is another organization that we work with, and they work with returning citizens that are coming out of prison. And they have like an 80 or 90% success rate. And that's because they're treating them as humans. They're giving them opportunities. They're training them, giving them skills. And once they have them, they take it and run, And so it's like you have these people who, come from all kinds of backgrounds, and they think, I have a drug problem or a criminal record or this or that. I'm never going to have a chance. But they can. And to see them owning homes and having families and succeeding at life, it just is, there's just nothing cooler than that to me, is to, and so if I can help somebody see that in some small way, that's all I want to do.
What do you sort of, as we wrap up here, what do you envision all of this? What's the big dream? Keep doing this, or if you could snap your fingers and make your wildest dreams come true, what do they look like?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've even really thought about it all that much. I do know that I would want I would want social enterprise to be the way of doing business. Is that it's becoming that more and more, but there's still so much work to do. Yeah. And I think with this younger generation, it's so cool to see that they want that transparency and that authenticity, and they're willing to pay for it.
Hopefully our kids, my hope is that our kids will want it 10 times more than we do, which is unimaginable to me because I want it so badly, right? Like, we make such conscious decisions about what we buy and what we wear and all that now. 15 years from now, I hope it's like 10 times more.
Exactly.
100 times more.
Yeah. So that's kind of my hope, is that, whether it's environment or whatever it is, that like these, businesses are thinking about the bigger picture, and that social enterprise is something that is built into their way of business. I hope it's not just a buzzword and a term that, just kind of ends up burning out. I hope it's how businesses end up operating. And I would love to see it, I would really love to see more connections between the countries with their social enterprise work, because there's social enterprise UK, social enterprise Australia, and and I know that there is like kind of a global network, but to see that be more cohesive, I guess, and even to see governments making it more of a priority. So
someday, many, many years from now, you're going to die. Mm-hmm. And for some odd reason, I'm still alive, and I am giving your eulogy. All of your family and friends are there. Everybody you've worked with, all the people that have been affected by, the Kumi Project and all your social enterprise stuff, all throughout your life. Big room, lots of people there. They're there to celebrate more in your life. What do I say? I'm giving your eulogy in a few sentences. Like, what am I saying over your life?
I don't know. I hope that you would take that moment to encourage all of them to look at themselves and how they could be more socially impactful, whatever way that is. Doesn't matter. But I don't know.
So look at the example that Daina has left us.
No, that feels like way too much.
But why?
Because
hopefully you have a legacy, right?
I hope there is a legacy. I don't know. I'm just very, I told you I'm very uncomfortable with like attention and how to
you gave up a Taylor Swift career because you didn't want to be in front of people, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But the truth of the matter is that like our examples, our life helps people.
Oh, yeah,
we need examples. We need examples of how to take the next step. Because life is hard and it sucks. And so when we see people doing it well, we're like, oh, I can do it too, So I get it. You don't want people talking about you. But hopefully, for me to have that conversation with people in this hypothetical scenario, I've got to give them something to look at. So it's, hey, look at what Daina did. You can do the same thing in your own way, right?
I think.
You have an impact on the world.
I hope so.
I think all of us. I read this thing last week because my personality left unchecked wants people to do so much, right?
Yeah.
Do all the things.
Yes. Yep.
But it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Like everybody can't do everything.
Right.
And I have become a little better. Hopefully I get much better in the future. But I've become, the reason I'm thinking about this is because there was this thing going around on the internet last week. Some girl wrote this thing and it just went viral. But she wrote these words. I think it'd be good to read. I'll read either all of it or part of it here. But
please.
She said, to the person who uses metal straws to save fish but consumes animals, I'd like to say thank you. To the vegan who isn't aware of our homelessness problem, thank you. To the climate change activists who aren't attentive to fast fashion, thank you. To the girl who gives her old clothes to the disadvantaged but isn't educated on sex trafficking, thank you. To the guy who picks up rubbish on his way home from a surf but isn't well informed about male suicide rates, thank you. To the people who stand up for horse racing concerns but are uninformed about the cruelty of the dairy industry, thank you. To the positive Instagram influencer who hasn't cultivated a plastic-free lifestyle, thank you. To the grandparents who knit for sick children but aren't up to date with current race and homophobic issues, thank you. To the students that stand up for bullying but are unaware of the constant domestic violence epidemic, thank you. And she goes on and on. If you want to hear more, everybody, go to Let's Give a Damn Instagram. I posted it there a few days ago. The whole idea of, we need examples of, we need to see people doing the right thing. But to ask somebody to be doing all of those things is just not realistic.
Right.
As much as I want to think that I'm trying to do the best job possible in all areas, like I was eating a snack the other day and it was this organic snack, non-GMO, like whatever. It's
all
just kind of all the things. And I was like, but the packaging, I can't recycle it.
Yeah.
So I had to, so I was thinking about all the ways that like, even when I try so hard, we compost, we do all the stuff.
Yep.
We don't do single-use plastics, like very rarely. And then I get this snack that was like, so good for you, right? 5 ingredients and it's all amazing. And I feel good about myself. And then I'm like, where the fuck do I throw this away? I have to throw it in the trash. It's landfill, right?
Just
like,
go to
why did they
landfill.
think about that last thing? They made an amazing product that tasted so good.
Yeah.
In the packaging.
Yep.
So
can't be all things to all people.
you can't do it. You can't do it all. And we have to, I think, encourage each other to, now I want to counter that. I want to counter myself by saying we can do more than we think.
Right.
We need to push ourselves. We need to instill like self-discipline and continue to make strides toward, I think, doing more.
Right.
But we can't do it all.
Exactly.
And we have to be very gracious with ourselves and with other people.
Oh my gosh.
And
100%.
not be like, dude, anyway.
I completely agree. I know
Yeah.
that could be a whole nother, I could go off on that because I have so many thoughts and feelings, but I agree, like you do what you can.
Do what you can.
Do what you can. And how, if you can't do more, support others who are.
Yeah.
Just encourage them.
Yeah.
Like, we're all different for a reason.
Yeah.
We all have different gifts and talents and, you know, personalities and interests for a reason. So let's celebrate that. And, you know, I'll work on what I can work on. You work on what you work on, and we'll support each other in that. Even if it's different, it's, you know, if it's for the greater good and it's positive, I don't see anything wrong with that. No.
Yeah. Let's Give a Damn is all about helping people find out what their thing or things is or are.
That's great.
Like, because it can't be everybody. That's why we tell so many different kinds of stories.
Which is great. I think that's fantastic.
Because it's not in one lane, and I'm actually starting another podcast soon specifically in one lane. But this one has to be broad because I want people to know that, like, there's not one way to do this. There's so many ways to do this.
Yep.
Don't try to be him or her.
And find your way of doing it because your way is going to be different and unique.
And we need it.
Yes.
And we need it.
Yes.
If you're not doing it, then we're missing out.
Right.
I've said that to so many, mostly single men that I've interacted with and kind of mentored. But it's like, if you don't do your thing, then we're missing out. Nobody else can do that.
Yeah.
So we're actually missing out on what you have to offer.
Right.
If you're not doing it, nobody is.
Yeah.
We can't pick up your slack because we've already got all this shit to do, right? So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We need to wrap up.
Okay.
This was super fun.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing your story and your work. And we're here to encourage you and cheer you on. And
thank you. And I love this platform. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
I think it's awesome.
Thanks. Super fun.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening in, ladies and gents. So glad you decided to show up for the conversation today because I know that you're encouraged. My challenge to you, my simple challenge to you this week, and I'm grabbing it from the last 5 minutes, is this. Don't expect yourself and others to give a damn about everything. Have more grace and patience because we're all just trying to make it, right? And I hope we're just trying to do our best. I believe that about you. And I truly believe that if we all do our part, the world will become a massively better place. So do that this week, my friends. You can find links and more information about this podcast conversation and all things Let's Give a Damn by going to letsgiveadamn.com. If you love what we're doing on the show, tell a friend, please. That takes 2 seconds. Very easy for you to do. You can also leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or consider giving us a few dollars each month to support the production of this show by going to patreon.com/letsgiveadamn. This podcast episode was created by Chad Snavely and yours truly. The music is by our friend and fellow Damn Giver Propaganda. Make sure to check out all of his music on Spotify or wherever you listen to your music. I cannot wait to spend time with you next week. More great stories to come. I love you all. Peace.